Hey guys! Tonight we're stepping barefoot into the steamy, wooden heart of Edo-era Japan, where silence speaks louder than words, and being too squeaky clean might just get you a few strange looks. You're about to visit a sentō, a public bathhouse where the water is hot. The rules are unwritten. And yes, you probably won't survive this if you forget to bow at the wrong moment. The walls sweat with steam. The wooden floors creak beneath every shy shuffle. And around you, local townsfolk glide through rituals they've practiced since childhood, all while you're still trying to figure out where to put your sandals. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is where you are. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You slide open the wooden door with both hands, just like you practiced, and immediately you're hit with a wave of moist, cedar-scented air. A small bell chimes above the frame as you step in. The light is soft, paper lanterns, some flickering. You freeze in the genkan, the entryway, because there's an old man sitting behind a low counter staring directly at you. He nods. You nod back. This is the bathhouse attendant, or Yuya, and yes, he absolutely knows you're new here. First, you fumble your sandals into the right cubby. Wrong cubby? Quiet disaster. The shelves are labeled, but only in brushstroke kanji that you pretend to squint at with great confidence. Once inside the changing room, it's shoes off, clothes off, and ego off. You awkwardly fold your kimono and place it into a woven basket, suddenly realizing that you're now extremely naked and unsure whether to bring your towel or just your shame with you. Here's your first rule. Bring the small towel. Not to dry off, but to scrub and strategically fold in front of you. Do not dunk it in the bath water. That's sacred space. That towel, it sits on your head like a weird, damp crown of humility. And don't worry, everyone's already seen everything. This is Edo, not Vegas. The cleaning station is a row of low stools and tiny wooden buckets. You sit on one, very low, knees basically in your ears, and begin your pre-bath ritual. Soap wasn't a big thing yet, but Asher rice bran might be nearby. You pour a few ladlefuls of warm water over your head, trying not to flinch. The man next to you barely blinks, pouring a bucket over himself like he's watering a bonsai. This is where your insecurities really bloom. You're scrubbing, maybe a little too vigorously, because you heard somewhere that being extra clean shows respect. But don't go too far. There's an unspoken line between cleanliness and trying too hard. The elderly woman across from you glances your way. Not judgmental, just amused. You've clearly never done this before. The baths themselves are stone-lined and already steaming. You dip a toe in. It's volcanic. You pretend to be fine. Internally, your soul is escaping through your pores. You ease in slowly, every vertebra crackling like an old scroll. Around you, everyone sits quietly, sometimes with eyes closed, sometimes staring softly into the mist, as if trying to remember if they fed the cat before leaving home. This bathhouse might seem like a humble place for washing up, but it's also a hub for quiet community. During the Edo period, 1603 to 1868, most homes didn't have private baths, so sentos were crucial. Men and women often bathed together until around the mid-19th century, when Western influences and the Meiji government pushed for separation. Historians still argue whether this change was genuinely about modesty or just Japan trying to look more civilized in the eyes of the West. But in this moment, you're in that earlier time, before partitions, before awkward reforms. It's calm, equal parts social and sacred. And while you're soaking in the mineral-rich water, you spot something odd carved into the corner post. A tiny turtle, barely the size of your thumb. It's not decoration. It's a symbol of long life, likely carved by a craftsman who believed that even bathhouse beams should have quiet blessings. Your thoughts drift. You begin to notice the rhythm of the room, the splash of a ladle, the gentle thump of someone shifting on a bench, the occasional throat clear that somehow feels ritualistic. There's a kind of etiquette here that isn't written anywhere. You copy what others do, and sometimes you invent a move and hope it doesn't get you silently disowned. You briefly wonder what would happen if you cannonballed. Then you banish the thought. The steam curls around your face, your shoulders drop. You're no longer an outsider, just another silent figure in a long line of bathers stretching back centuries. You're nearly horizontal in the water now, limbs like boiled noodles, eyelids halfway closed as the sound of distant laughter drifts from the dressing room. But don't get too comfortable. This bathhouse isn't just about washing. It's a place of discipline, observation, and, yes, an invisible web of social expectations you're still trying to decode. First, there's towel management. Remember that little towel from earlier? You did not leave it in the water, right? Good. But now, you're unsure what to do with it while shifting positions. Fold it neatly. Always neatly. Most bathhouse regulars balance it on their heads like sleepy cranes. Part custom, part subtle flex. You try this and feel absurd, but it's surprisingly effective. It also keeps you from accidentally waving it around like a wet flag, which is universally frowned upon. You glance around, trying to decipher the etiquette of eye contact. Rule of thumb? Don't. This is a world of soft stares and gazes fixed on middle distance, like everyone's watching a ghostly kabuki performance just over your shoulder. If someone's talking, it's in a hush, a chuckle, or a few murmured syllables. Loud conversations are considered invasive. This isn't the village well, it's a steam sanctuary. You shift slightly and notice a man has been carefully stirring the water with a wooden ladle. Not for fun. He's checking the heat. Some bathhouses in Edo had small furnaces under the tubs, fed by firewood or charcoal. These kept the water hot enough to poach a daikon. In fact, there were actually city ordinances regulating bathhouse fire usage because a few too many neighborhoods went up in flames. So yes, while you're worrying about towel etiquette, someone else is quietly managing the bath like a soup chef. Back then, bathhouses served different classes and walks of life. Samurai, merchants, farmers, they all showed up here, stripped of titles and sometimes dignity. Of course, there were elite baths with separate quarters, but many sentos were great equalizers. That said, social subtleties still snuck in. You notice how one elderly man has a newer-looking cloth and sits slightly apart. He's probably a retired official or shopkeeper. No one says anything, but people notice. That's Edo for you. Nobody tells you the rules, but everyone watches when you break them. There's a splash behind you. A child, perhaps 4 or 5, tiptoes in beside his mother. He giggles and slips. She catches him with one arm and shushes him gently. For a moment, you're struck by how multi-generational this place is. A bathhouse wasn't just functional. It was a family outing, a chance to learn proper behavior, to hear gossip, to relax. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some bathhouses doubled as barbershops or even low-key inns. A traveler might grab a soak, a shave, and a snooze, all in one wooden building. Others had painted murals. Mount Fuji was a favorite, looming dreamily across one tiled wall like a silent guardian. In your bathhouse, though, it's all wood grain and steam. Still, you could swear you see shapes in the condensation on the walls. A fox? A fan? Or maybe just your imagination unwinding like a scroll. You ease up to the side of the bath and find a small bench. Sitting on the edge like this, feet still submerged, gives you a new perspective. A man across the pool is humming softly. An old folk tune, maybe something about fishing boats or plum blossoms. His voice rises and falls like steam lifting from the surface, and for once, you don't feel like an outsider anymore. Just a quiet ripple in the communal warmth. Historians still argue whether Edo bathhouses were truly egalitarian or subtly hierarchical. Some argue that access was universal. Others point to coded behaviors and unspoken boundaries that maintained social divides even without visible markers. What's certain is that everyone, from merchants to messengers, knew how to navigate the silent ballet of bathhouse decorum. Eventually, you stand and take a final ladle of hot water over your shoulders. This is your exit cue, not rushing, not lingering. You bow slightly to the others. You've seen it done. Retrieve your towel and tread back toward the changing room with footsteps soft as a shadow puppet. You feel lighter, not just from the bath, but from having successfully passed, if barely, through the quiet gauntlet of Edo-era public hygiene. You dry off slowly, letting the last curls of heat leave your body. Behind you, someone chuckles gently, maybe at a private joke, maybe at you. You smile. It doesn't matter anymore. You've made it through. The steam still clings to your skin, like a warm memory not quite ready to let go. You dress slowly, carefully, fingers brushing over the texture of cotton that somehow feels softer now. The lanterns in the hallway are dimmer than before, or maybe your eyes have just grown used to the haze. You slip your sandals on and step outside, where the night air presses cool against your cheeks. There's no rush anymore. Each footstep seems to echo with the hush of wooden floors and quiet nods. Somewhere nearby, a bamboo wind chime stirs. Soft notes, just a breath of sound. You feel like you've emerged from another world, a slower world, one where everything had a place, even silence, especially silence. Your muscles remember the water's hold, the way it loosened thought and softened the edges of the day. The scent of cedar and faint smoke still lingers in your hair. And as you walk home, whether through the lantern-lit streets of Edo or the hallway to your bedroom, you carry that stillness with you. Let your breath slow now. Let your shoulders settle. Imagine warm water on your skin, the hush of voices, the glow of lanterns overhead. You did well tonight. You learned the rhythm, the etiquette, the quiet dignity of the bath. And in doing so, you honored a tradition hundreds of years old. Now let that history fade. Let the steam rise one last time in your mind's eye, and let it drift up into the ceiling of your thoughts, softening everything it touches. Close your eyes. Let it go.